What were the effects of Glasnost? What were the effects of Glasnost? This policy, meaning openness, was introduced by Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union during the 1980s. It aimed to increase transparency in government and allow more freedom of expression. The impact of Glasnost was significant and had lasting effects on the Soviet system and socialism as a whole. At first, Glasnost allowed citizens and the media to openly discuss issues that had been hidden or censored for years. This included exposing corruption, social injustices, and the privileges of party officials. As these inequalities came to light, many people began to distrust the government and the Communist Party. This growing skepticism weakened the legitimacy of Soviet leadership. Additionally, Glasnost loosened travel restrictions and increased contact between Soviet citizens and the Western world. This exposure to different political and economic models led to rising dissatisfaction with the Soviet system. Many people began to demand reform, feeling inspired by what they saw in other countries. Politically, Glasnost encouraged public criticism and self-criticism within the party and society. The idea was to make socialism more responsive and accountable. However, instead of strengthening the system, it destabilized the political order. Nationalist movements gained momentum in various Soviet republics, pushing for independence and contributing to the eventual dissolution of the Soviet Union. Economically, Glasnost was part of a broader reform effort alongside Perestroika, which means restructuring. While it aimed to address economic issues, it also exposed the deep problems and inefficiencies of the Soviet system. The openness highlighted the failures of central planning and the urgent need for change. However, the reforms did not bring rapid improvements, leading to further public disillusionment. From a socialist perspective, Glasnost was an attempt to reform and democratize socialism. It sought to correct the excesses and authoritarianism that had developed over the years. Yet, the policy also revealed contradictions within the Soviet model, such as inequality between officials and citizens. This exposure weakened socialist authority and contributed to the collapse of the Soviet state. In practical terms, Glasnost showed that socialist governance requires openness and accountability to maintain legitimacy. It illustrated the risks of suppressing information and public participation. The effects of Glasnost extended beyond the Soviet Union, inspiring democratic reforms in other socialist countries. However, it also served as a warning about how rapid political openness without economic stability can lead to crisis. Overall, Glasnost led to greater political openness and freedom of expression. It exposed systemic corruption and inequality, weakened centralized control, and empowered nationalist movements. While it aimed to strengthen socialism, it ultimately revealed deep flaws in the Soviet system and accelerated its decline.